Hi, welcome back to another part in my series on viewer-submitted tones that some of my YouTube viewers have sent in asking for me to kind of help edit their patch a little closer to what they were hoping to have it sound like, just based off their description to me. This week, we're going to dive right in. I have a patch sent to me by Kai Down, who a lot of you may know from the Facebook Helix group. Nice fella, and he sent me this patch asking if I could just kind of tweak it up. I think he was overall fairly happy with it, but he said it felt a little woolly, I think was his word. I took from that like maybe a little bit muddy, lacking in a little bit of clarity. He had 8 snapshots, so I mean, when I first looked at this, I went, oh my goodness, this is going to be quite the job, because obviously the more snapshots there are and the more changes there are, the more parameters I have to look at to see what I could possibly do to dial it in. But it actually turned out to be not so bad, because I think I was able to quickly pinpoint what the problem was, or in my estimation, what the problem was. And in the end, when I sent this back to Kai, he was very, very happy with it. So I guess I was close to being on the mark with that. So let me just go over, first of all, he had a patch, it's called Dapper Raptor, and I have Dapper Edit down here. So he had a bunch of patches, one called Spank, Tap It, Whack It, Lead, Bliss, Space Rock, Space Metal, Bliss Solo. So I kept all of those the same, and let me just see if we're lined up on the same snaps here. Okay, so he sent me this patch, and now, the first thing I was noticing is that the underlying tonality was not bad. The ideas were good, but it sounded an awful lot to me like it was all being listened to through an old telephone. That's kind of what it sounded like to me. Very, very mid-focused, right? So I was wondering what is causing that. So as I dove around and I looked and I went to his low and high cut block, and I saw low cut 200 hertz and high cut 6 kilohertz, which kind of told me that my first estimation was correct on this, right? It was very cut on the high end, very cut on the low end, getting all those mid frequencies is exactly what a telephone would do, maybe even more so, well, definitely more so than that. So that's something I wanted to take care of right away. So basically, let me run through the changes I made, and then I'll do some comparisons and playing between the sounds that I got for Kai's sound and what he had. First things first, he has an LA Studio comp at the beginning, but that's only on snapshots 1 and 5. He had it set at 7.8 on the peak reduction, 6.2 on the gain. I brought that back to 5 and 5, and I had to boost up the level, I believe, to about +5, just to kind of keep things balanced the same way. So that's fine. A little change on that. He also has a couple overdrives here. The Kinky Boost, I didn't make any changes to. I left it exactly how he had it. The Minotaur, which is used on snapshots 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8, so he doesn't use it on 2 and 6. He had the tone way up at 9.2. I found it was further accentuating that problem of just maybe too harsh sound. So I brought that all the way back to 5. He has a graphic equalizer here, a 10-band graphic, and all I did is on these two bands here, 62.5 hertz and 125 hertz. On the 125 hertz, I went from 2.8, I just brought it down to 0.2, or basically, I don't even know why. Maybe I was just trying to go for 0 and I didn't get it there. But anyways, I wanted to get those lows. See, I think what happened is Kai dialed off everything below 200 hertz, and then he tried to add some more of that back in here, whereas we didn't really need to once we just changed the low and high cuts, right? So what I did is I took his low and high cut block, and I just replaced it with a parametric EQ. And I changed his low cut setting. Instead of a 200, I put it at 100. And instead of 6 kilohertz on the high cut, I put it at 9.8. I don't know, honestly, how I end up at these odd values. Sometimes I should just end up at 10, but I don't know. I just tweak around until I find it. And that's where it ends up. I kind of, when I'm making my notes later on these, I kind of look and go, why did I end up at 9.8? Anyway, not that's important. And I added a little bit of polish with the parametric instead of utilizing so much of the graphic EQ. So I dipped a little, like 1.1 dB out at 400 hertz. I added some bottom end, fair bit, 2.9 dB, Q of 1.3 at 180 hertz, and then up by 5 kilohertz. I really kind of bumped that up to 4.5 dB with a Q of 1.8. So that's how I really shaped the tone. So really, other than those few things, that's all I did. So let's take a listen first to the setting that is called Spank. Here's first one. This is Kai's sound. This is what I have. Do you hear sort of the telephone quality of that? Just a little more balanced across the frequency spectrum. If we go to his second snapshot, let's see how that sounds. Here was Kai's. Here was mine. Okay. We'll jump up to the leads maybe. I'm not going to go through all 8 of these. Some of these are just different effects and whatnot that I didn't touch other than just the global changes I already told you about. So here was Kai's lead. Here's what I did for him. So again, you can kind of hear there's a little more fullness to it, a little more balance across the frequency spectrum. That's Kai's. And here is mine. So really not a ton to change there. Again, some of these small tweaks can go a long way. And if you're noticing a pattern here, if for anybody who's watched a lot of this series, a lot of it just has to do with contouring those EQ curves properly, you know? Maybe not going so dramatic on lows and high cuts, or going a little more dramatic and then compensating with an EQ in the right frequencies, right? If you notice a lot of times, I'm in and around, you know, 180 for the bottom end on these parametric EQs, boosting that a little bit to give a little fatness to the sound, usually carving out a little bit of 400 hertz with a moderate Q, maybe by a dB to 2 dB, just to clear up some of that mud, and then go up into the 3 to 5 kilohertz range, and just with a fairly broad Q, just give it a little boost there. And that kind of polishes it up. It's almost like I've talked about before, that mastering of the sound, you know, like a mastering engineer would do. And it tends to allow it to kind of just sit better in a lot of situations, whether we're playing through FR or headphones or whatever else, you know. So in the end, Kai said he was pretty happy with that. And again, I was pretty happy that I could help him out with it. He was pretty pumped about it. And I think he said he was going to be recording the next day or something. So he was pretty happy as far as the timing goes. I'd never heard back how it went, but hopefully it went well, Kai. So anyways, yeah, thanks for tuning in again, guys. Please subscribe if you haven't already, like the video and share it if you don't mind. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all the comments. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below, and I'll always try to get back to you guys. And until next time, which will be probably very soon, we'll see you then. Take care.